Panic is ensuing right now off of Jeanty's 3 carries for -1 yard in the recent preseason game. And you've got a lot of panic Peters everywhere. Now, I want to remind you before we go down this road of that you could possibly pull one over on a league mate and buy Jeanty low. This is probably one of those scenarios where the 10 to 12 people out of every 200, 300 people in a live stream chat, like when I'm live, it's like 5 to 10 people are Debbie Downers on Jeanty.
He's a box score, Bobby. He's a little sloppy.
Because they missed him, they don't own him, they're pissed off. They put a bad receipt out there, so they're throwing more bad on bad and making just another horrible take.
He's a box score, Bobby. He's very sloppy. Bobby.
Regardless of what the case may be, it's going to seem like there's more Jeanty doubters than there are because a lot of negative people are allowed. And it's like my example at a rock concert. 100,000 people in the crowd are cheering and they love you, but there are 10 people in the front row spread out that have megaphones going, "You suck." You're going to hear negativity and you're going to think that the whole crowd feels that way proportionately. So understand that Jeanty's probably not going to be a home run steal anywhere. And that anybody that was smart enough to draft him is smart enough not to let a preseason outing where he got 3 carries or judge the Raiders offense in totality off of 1 series. Those people are going to be smart enough to not let that impact them, right? But maybe over the course of the next 24 to 48 hours, some of those loud people, the Debbie Downers, maybe it absorbs. And some of these people that own Jeanty were wondering anyway, teeter-tottering on this or that, and now there's a potential buying opportunity. Can you buy Jeanty low in fantasy football dynasty right now? We'll find out. Can you, and this is a dynasty show, but we'll also talk about it from a redraft perspective. Can you anticipate getting Jeanty in that 2.1 to 2.3, 2.4 territory in upcoming redraft leagues in your home league because people will be fickle and fall victim to the noise? Maybe. Let's attack Dynasty and Redraft. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show. Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
All right, so I venture to say that we're probably not getting Jeanty in a majority of situations. But if you were sitting on, let's say, a running back like Josh Jacobs, and you weren't able to get anybody to bite, especially somebody that has Ashton Jeanty. You offered him a first rounder and Jacobs, they said no. You offered him a second first rounder, an additional first rounder, so 2 of them, and they said no. You might want to swing back in and have that conversation now and see if maybe the absorbing of negativity, and you might want to wait a couple hours in the morning here, walking into content creation and people just, sending out tweets and people making judgment calls, the memes, all the haters will start to build momentum and put, more, Debbie Downer type content out there. There might be an opportunity where you make this happen when you wouldn't have made it happen earlier. Maybe you can take a player like, I'm just trying to spitball a name. Let me actually pull up a list of players on my thefantasyfootballshow.com. If you guys don't have thefantasyfootballshow.com, it's year-round rankings, bold predictions, trade calculators. Your boy got into the business, in the fantasy business, creating these tools and rankings before anything else. So this is where it's at. Make sure you get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com. Link is in the description of the video. We went live last night on this and people were, I don't want to say a lot of people, but enough people were in panic mode. And again, it seemed louder than it was. We calculated it. We figured it out. We took an estimation that it was probably like 5% of the entire 300 people that were in and out of the live stream, but they were loud. And that's kind of the point of what I'm trying to drive home. So if you were to trade maybe a guy like James Cook even right now with 2 first rounders, if you were to trade maybe a player that, we like a lot, but Chuba Hubbard, and you try and get rid of Hubbard right now, probably harder to do these trades. But I would also say JT. I want nothing to do with JT and his situation. What people say about the Raiders situation, I feel about 10 times worse on JT's situation, and the talent's neither as good as Jeanty or even close to as Jeanty. So JT and some first rounders, of course, try and do it with one first rounder and JT throw in a second. See if this negativity, this wave of negativity puts you in a position where you can make this trade. Would I give up 2 first rounders and JT for Jeanty? You bet your bottom dollar I would. 100 times out of 100. You know, you look at someone like Derrick Henry, probably didn't have a shot in hell of trading Derrick Henry in a dynasty league. You probably still don't for this guy, but maybe you can CMC because someone thinks he's revived and that the stem cell therapy worked overseas that's going to give him 2 more years. Maybe you can trade CMC and a first. Maybe you can trade CMC and 2 firsts for Jeanty in a dynasty. I'm certainly trying to pull that off. Maybe you have Barkley and you have not been able to get rid of Barkley because he's hard to trade in dynasty. He truly is. People are just scared of that drop-off that's eventually going to happen. Now, all of a sudden, you can trade Barkley and you try for a first rounder. If you can't get that done, try and send 2 first rounders and Barkley for Jeanty. These are all trades you wouldn't have been able to do and probably still can't in 90% of the scenarios, but there is probably a 10, maybe a 5% chance, an equal chance as there are haters out there when you enter a room and you see this loud noise of anti-Jeanty. Oh my God, 3 carries. The team looks so bad. The team didn't even have more than 1 drive as a starting unit. Let's not judge that, but there are people judging it. And so let's give that 5% chance that there is a way to make a trade work that you normally wouldn't have been able to make. Now, from a redraft perspective, we've been getting Jeanty at this 1.12 lately. He's fallen, and it's been an enjoyable experience getting Jeanty at 1.12 when we've had to pay 1.8 and right around that territory in round number 1 in redraft. This is redraft. We were talking dynasty. We're going to try and tackle both redraft and dynasty on all uploads, just so you know. So in redraft, you're getting him here at 1.12 to 1.18. That's on best ball as well. Best ball is certainly 12 right now. It's really wide receiver heavy on best ball. If you want to draft on best ball, minimum $10. And you deposit $1,000, they'll give you $500. You deposit $2,000, they'll give you $1,000. You deposit the minimum of $10, they'll give you $5. There's a 50% match on your first deposit, all the way up to $1,000. So get on over there and try drafting Jeanty and see where he goes. But he's been going about 12. Now, we haven't even had 3-4 hours since recording this take place since Jeanty's carried the football 3 times for -1 yards. So 3 times for -1 yard, and we haven't had any sort of ability to measure the reaction, which should not be anything. It shouldn't be any reaction at all. In fact, I went live right before the game, and I said, I hope he has like 3 carries for 8 yards. He had 3 carries for -1. This is what I wanted. And, you know, I got what I wished for, but with that comes a whole lot of negativity, which is fine. I don't care. And ultimately, it helps us, right? We're getting Jeanty at a discount. And I don't think that there's anything to make of what happened in the game. So therefore, it's a free discount. It's a free bump in value. It's amazing. But in best ball, he's going 12 as of this moment. I wonder if he drops to 2.1 to 2.2. I don't think he'll fall any further than that. People are too smart for this. There's only that small percentage of people that we just call non-ball knowers. They don't know. They're fickle. They go with the wind. 2.1, 2.2 is probably the biggest discount you're likely to get, if any, on best ball. But in your redraft non-best ball league, in your grandma league, you might find that his value was climbing to 110 to 112, maybe a little higher because it's not as wide receiver saturated. People are interested more so in a running back in this territory than in underdog. But I think that we might have tapped into something, and with this disappointing game by Jeanty that is probably going to translate in an even bigger drop in non-best ball, even though non-best ball was higher on him coming into the game, the preseason game, the we'll call it the three carries for -1 yard. So -1 yard gate, I guess is what we could call it. -1 yard. What did it do? It probably dropped him from 9, 10, 11, 12. Now he doesn't, I don't think, go there on the regular. I think he becomes a 2.1 to 2.5 staple in non-best ball. It's never the same reaction. One player can go higher in non-best ball and it doesn't make sense and they should go lower. Sometimes it's the reverse. You know, Kyren goes in round 2 in non-best ball where people are supposed to know less in non-best ball and grandma leagues, but they're actually drafting Kyren appropriately and then in best ball formats that are supposed to be sharper groups of people, they're letting Kyren go in the 3rd round. So you can't really make sense of anything. You just got to know all the environments. And I'm telling you right now, if you're getting Jeanty in this round 2, anywhere in round 2, you're winning a league if he brings the Thunder. And as I've said before, I'm going to map this out for you and let you know that I don't care what anybody says. This is my projection, and I stand by it without any sort of hesitation, equivocation, or stuttering. There's no hesitation in my voice. This man's getting 300 carries. This man is going to get you 4.5 yards per carry if he's bad. If the offensive line and there's no improvement and people act like Geno's not an upgrade, he is an upgrade. They just didn't play long or do anything. They're still getting to know each other. Could there even be a slow week 1 or 2? Maybe. But that's it. That's all you got to worry about. 4.5 yards per carry. Even with a slow start, Jeanty will get volume and produce, even if it's low yards per carry. Let's say it's 4.2 in week 1, 4.3 in week 2, 4.1 in week 3. And then he gets on his horse. The Raiders start clicking. And then he's off to the races, 4.7 yards a carry. I don't care. The volume is going to be there. But 4.5 yards per carry times 300 is 1,350. He's getting 1,350 yards, in my opinion, in his sleep. That is his yards rushing. He's getting a bare minimum. This guy scored 29 touchdowns in college in his final season alone. He rushed for 2,600 yards in 1 year, his final year. For those that don't know the data, here's the data. You want data? Look at this. His final season, 2,601 and 29 touchdowns, 7 yards a carry in one single season. In that year, never rushed for under 100 yards in a game. 5.25 yards after contact. First in the nation in forced missed tackles. He was 49 forced missed tackles ahead of everybody. And then one of the best receiving running backs to come out of college in a long time. Let's say that the team is down and throwing. We didn't get a chance to see Jeanty do anything in the receiving game. If they don't block well for him, which they will, but let's say they didn't, and they're playing from behind, this guy caught 43 balls for 569 and 5 touchdowns in a college season. Like, don't do this to yourself. Understand that what you're looking at is a monster. And if they do struggle, they'll throw to him. So 1,350, he's getting 12 to 14 touchdowns on the ground. You don't like my 14 number? Then accept the 12, because that's happening. That's his floor. He's catching a bare minimum of 45 receptions, probably a floor of more like, or a ceiling of more like 55, 60, but let's call it 45, and let's not get ahead of our skis. 45, and then we give him like 300 receiving, and then we give him 2 to 3 more TDs. This right here is a top 5 running back. This is his floor. This is what I demand. And if I don't get it, I'm going to be upset. And I don't think I'm going to be upset at the end of the year. And I don't think you will be either.
Hey, I'm Dom, and I drive fast cars, get hot chicks, and draft Ashton Jeanty double fist style with 2 cell phones at the same time. Why do I have 2 cell phones? One for looking up Ashton Jeanty stats all day. The other is for getting chicks.
I'm live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Additionally, live whenever big news breaks. And I'm also live at midnight Eastern every single night, almost every single night. I take sometimes one midnight show off, but I'm live midnights. I'm live at 8 p.m. I'm live whenever news breaks. And then we upload at 7:30 a.m. Eastern whenever I do an upload, which I'm trying to do every day. That's this video right here, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, and then that's 4:30 a.m. Pacific time. See you all at 8 p.m. or sooner.